record this. All right. So really quickly before we get started, go ahead and let me know you can hear me. Type something in the chat. Let me know what you're hoping to get out of this. We're going to be talking about inventory management strategies for 2022. One of my biggest focuses for you guys right now really is about profitability. Okay, fantastic. Hi, Amy. Amy says, yes, we can hear you. Hi, Glenn. Glenn, it's good to see you. Hello, Maria. Fantastic. Okay, good, guys. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I'm sure you can see my screen. Let me know if you cannot see my screen. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm focusing on inventory management strategies to stay profitably stocked. That is the key word. Looking at 2020 and 2021, we were all just really basically trying to cope with what we thought was a temporary situation. And now as it's extending into 2022, we're starting to realize that it's not a temporary situation. It's actually something that looks like it's going to be here for at least the next couple of years. And therefore, rather than doing anything and everything that we can to keep inventory in stock, meaning paying whatever we have to pay, we now have to start to look at the profitability side of things and really focus on not just staying in stock, but how to stay profitably in stock. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that may be costing you money. And we're going to be going into some strategies that actually aggregators are currently using. They'll get your business and then they'll do some optimization that will immediately add equity to that purchase. So my interest is in providing sellers with the ability to do those things themselves, say 12 months, 18 months before they sell, so that you end up keeping a lot more of that money. The business is more valuable, so that if you are ending up selling your business as one of your strategies, you can sell it for more money than maybe you would have if you hadn't applied these strategies. Some of these things are things that could save you tens of thousands, even depending on your business, over $100,000. Just little tiny tweaks that could do that. So we're going to be covering those things, and we're also going to be covering some of the basic strategies that you should have in place to make sure that your inventory management goes smoothly. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. A little bit about me. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chelsea Cohen. I have been a seller, an Amazon seller since 2014. I have been immersed specifically in inventory management for over 3 years. I recognized it as a problem that I was facing in my own business. Since then, I've spoken to hundreds of 6, 7, and 8-figure Amazon sellers about their inventory management. I've written over 50 articles on inventory and supply chain. I've been on dozens of podcasts, and SoStocked, my software that I created back in 2019, has over 1,000 users and is recommended and used by top masterminds, influencers, agencies, and aggregators. So really my passion has always been, since I started SoStocked, to help you to keep more of your money by staying in stock and by cleaning up and systemizing the operations side of your business. All right, so first and foremost, I want to talk about numbers. Really, numbers is what inventory management is all about. So we need to understand how the numbers can help us or harm us, specifically with how we are actually processing them. So we like to talk about, numbers don't lie. Math doesn't lie. That's the only truth, except for when it does. So how is it possible to have your numbers lie to you? That's something that actually a lot of sellers are facing, and something that I like to dive into. All right, first and foremost, we like to use daily adjusted velocity. Velocity is extremely important when you're setting up your inventory management, because it is the basis for everything. If you get this number wrong, you can multiply your mistake across months of inventory. So if you have, your daily velocity incorrect and you'll order 3 months worth of inventory, that's going to perpetuate across those 3 months worth of inventory. So some of what people do is they look at total monthly sales. Look at, okay, for the past, 60 days, I've sold X number of units, so I'm going to order that many for the next 2 months worth of inventory. And it's more commonly also done during Christmas time. When you look at what are my Christmas sales last year, well, let's just do that and just increase it by 10%. The reason why that tends to sometimes be a problem is that you're not adjusting for specific anomalies. So the thing that you should be doing is, instead of taking total monthly sales, you should be taking averages, right? Finding out what the true average is, and then factoring out things that are not going to happen again. So things like sales spikes, right? If you were mentioned on a morning talk show during their gift segment, for example, and you had, a huge $40,000 sales day for one particular product, that would be something that wouldn't necessarily be happening the next time you place your order. You want to remove that and adjust your velocity to factor that out. Similarly, stockouts are the same thing. And so if you have, you're looking at 30 days worth of sales, but you had 5 days worth of stock out, then you want to adjust that so that you're actually looking at the 25 days that you had inventory in stock. All right, so this is daily adjusted velocity. You can basically think of it as true velocity, right? Daily adjusted velocity. And then, of course, once you have your daily adjusted velocity, growth trends can be added on that. Marketing campaigns can be added on top of that. But that is your base and that's your foundation. So if you get that wrong, you're setting yourself up for some problems. And we're going to go ahead and illustrate this point actually with a case study. This is a seller who was a 7-figure seller in the wholesale space and had been using another software for years, had found that software was less than accurate. And so for his best sellers, which were his most important component of his business and the biggest revenue drivers, he decided to create his own spreadsheet. And so he would use the software for most of his SKUs, and for his best sellers, he'd use his spreadsheet. And still with those two systems, he was continuing to run out of stock. So what happened was he started using SoStock, and he found that SoStock was predicting his velocity. He thought it was too high. And when we dug into the data, we actually found out that it was accurate. And we found out why those other systems using the same data were getting things wrong. And so here's what we found. We found that the first algorithm, the software, was saying he was selling 8 units a day. In fact, he was selling 15 units a day. That was his average. So when he placed his order for 8 units a day, he ended up stocking out by day 4. He was doing weekly orders. Then his spreadsheet was saying he was selling 10 units a day. And of course, he was stocking out on day 5. So in order to get himself through the full week, we actually found that he was selling 15 units a day, which was a far cry from the 8 units a day that the other software was suggesting. And now this is all using the same data, but it's looking at the data differently. So there are 2 things that you should be looking at when you're looking at a stock out. The first one is, did you have stock? Right? This is something that can be pulled from Amazon's historical API. We can see from Amazon's historical API if you had stock on a particular day or if you did not. And if you don't have an API, this is something that you should be able to track in something called a stock out log. Now, the second thing that you should be asking is, was there an unusual interruption to your normal sales velocity? So this could be anything from, the lower sales day that you have right before you stock out, the lower sales day before you come back, right after you come back in stock, and also Amazon finding, say, 1 or 2 units during a stock out, or even a sales interruption, such as a listing suspension. So these are all things that are not days where you're out of stock, but days where you have some sort of interruption to what your normal pattern is. So what was happening is, normally these other systems are only looking at that first point. They're only looking at, did you have stock? And everything else is counted as an in-stock day. So the other software, for example, was looking at this. You sell an average of 100 units a day. right before you stock out, you sell 23 units, and that's counted as an in-stock day. Then you stock out, then Amazon finds and sells 1 unit. That's counted as an in-stock day. And then you come back in stock and sell 13 units. That's again counted as an in-stock day. With what we do and with how to apply appropriately daily adjusted velocity, you need to look at those three, the day of 23 sales, 1 sale, and 13 sales as a stock out day. So those get registered as stock out days, right, in the stock out calculation, and you get a very different picture. With the first algorithm, the daily adjusted velocity for 30-day average, the daily adjusted velocity is 90 units a day. However, the true velocity is 100 units because we're removing those additional days that are not factoring as full sales days, right? So that's a huge difference. That's a 10 unit a day difference. And if you're spreading that across, multiple months, that becomes a huge difference. You can start stocking out. And if that's applied across your entire catalog, that becomes even more of a problem. All right, so let's go ahead and let's move on to talk about some systems that you should have in place to avoid some of the problems that cause stockouts or can lead to overstocking. I wanted to talk about the #1 inventory mistake that sellers make. And this is something that came before Restock Limits even was around. It's something that I noticed was a pattern with nearly all Amazon sellers. Not all Amazon sellers, but many Amazon sellers, and also a lot of agencies, PPC agencies, and management companies. And that's marketing inside of a vacuum. Marketing and inventory have not historically for Amazon businesses been very well coordinated. You find out that, there's this new hack and you want to try it, and you try it. And then a month later, you realize that you're running out of stock because the marketing hack was so successful that it ended up selling through more inventory than you had to sustain that sales pattern, right? So it's important that your marketing and your inventory team works together. Now that restock limits are a factor, it becomes more important than ever. It's actually, beyond just causing stockouts, the marketing team may, and if they should become responsible for helping to push sell-through, right? Sell-through so that your restock limits don't get clogged up with a lot of slow sellers. So there are specific reports that should be going back and forth between the marketing and the inventory team to be able to get this all to work together. So let's go through those. So first and foremost, marketing needs to give inventory their marketing plans. And then those marketing plans are vetted out against the inventory plans. This is what this looks like. And I am going to send this out to everyone in the email for the replay. We'll send this out to everyone who sticks around. And then, so basically this is what you're looking at. You're looking at a report that on a SKU basis tells the inventory team how you want, what you want to have put into the calculations, right? How do you want the velocity to be calculated? Are you looking at last year's sales because it's Christmas? Are you looking at, 60-day sales velocities, or a combination of 30, 60, 90, for example? Also trends. You want to have a trend comparison, right? If you have a product that has been steadily increasing, you may want to add a trend into your sales velocity. And then are you doing PPC, right? Add additional sales growth for PPC. If you think that your PPC campaign that you're starting is going to increase sales by 10%, you can put that in there, and that will go into the calculation for the inventory team to plan with. Then you have lightning deals. You can put in a date range and a total number of units that you think will move. That can include other sales events like email campaigns, influencer campaigns, anything that is a sales event that you're going to market. And then lastly, seasonal sales spikes. If you have a product that is, summer product, and it does very well during summer, so you think it's going to increase, say 50% for that summer season, that would be something that you would put in here. Now, once you put all of this together, it makes it a lot easier to refine what the inventory needs are. And inventory can then turn around and say, this looks great. Everything is a go. We've adjusted our order schedule. to accommodate this. However, there are 2 SKUs that are going to run out if you do this. So you need to cancel these lightning deals, or you need to not put those into your PPC campaign strategy until after we get more stock. That's how the inventory and the marketing team can work together based on marketing plans. Now, let's move on to the inventory side of things, the inventory team's responsibility to the marketing team and how the marketing team will respond to the data that the inventory team provides, right? Because the inventory team it needs to take responsibility for getting this data to the marketing team. It's actually one of those one of those secret sauces that makes this thing work even better. It actually informs the marketing plans. So the first thing would be the stock out risk report. Now, some of these reports are going to sound similar. I'm going to tell you exactly why each report is important and how the marketing team should be using these. So the stock out risk report, it essentially is taking your total inventory, dividing that by your daily adjusted velocity, and getting your total remaining days of stock to be able to see whether you're going to stock out. Now, if you have your total remaining days of stock and you see that you've got 50 days worth of stock, but your inventory is not arriving until 55 days, you can tell that you're going to stock out. So maybe instead of ramping up sales, you need to just monitor, maybe slightly lower it by raising your price or something, making sure that you're maintaining good page ranking, but trying to weather that so you don't run out of stock before that inventory arrives. So this report is very helpful for the marketing team to know what they can do with each of those SKUs. Then we have the inventory, the slow sellers report. So like I said, these next 3, they're actually going to sound pretty similar, but we're going to talk about why each of them is a little bit different. The slow sellers report, I call this the move it or lose it SKUs. These are SKUs you're going to select in a range, right? A minimum and a maximum daily adjusted velocity range. Let's say that you have a good adjusted velocity if you sell over 20 units a day, and that's for your particular business. You say, this product is successful if it's selling, over 20 units a day. Maybe it's different for your particular business, but you pick an optimal range. Say this is a good product, and anything below this is not doing very well. So you would pick that maximum, and then you would pick a minimum, being that anything under that minimum is going to be something that's doing so badly that it's a big problem for you, that you're not going to continue to sell that product. So you want to pick this range. I've picked between 5 units a day and 20 units a day, and that's your slow seller. And this you send to your marketing team, and it's signaled for your marketing team to ramp the sales up. Say, these products are going to be a problem for you. They're going to become unviable products that we're going to have to retire if we don't change this, if we don't boost the sales with this product. So please ramp the sales up. Otherwise, you increase the risk of these products moving into the next category of products. And that next category is a liquidation report. So the liquidation report would be very similar to the slow sellers report, only it would be below those 5 units a day, right? We said anything 5 units a day or 20 units a day was our slow sellers. Now we have anything below 5 units a day. We don't plan on restocking this product. We're going to sell through, and we're going to remove it from FBA. But whatever we're doing, we're not going to restock this product. We need to move this product. So a plan needs to be devised by the marketing team for these particular SKUs to remove the inventory before it becomes a blocker to other inventory getting into FBA. Also, to sell through, because every month you're collecting storage fees on those products, and sooner or later those products are going to become a liability. They're going to be costing you more than they're making you, because inventory can either be an asset, which is what it is on our balance sheet, or it can be a liability, and that it's costing us more than it's making us. So when I say liquidation and when I say liquidation report, I don't necessarily mean to actually use a liquidation service. Sometimes you have to do that, but more often you can use that inventory to drive additional sales velocity, maybe drop the sales, maybe run a a campaign to sell through at a flash sale, and use that to boost your restock limits by boosting your sales velocity within your catalog. All right, the last one is our Overstock Report. Okay, the Overstock Report, many of the SKUs in the slow seller report and the liquidation report might also be in your Overstock Report, but best sellers could also be in your Overstock Report. Like I said, that inventory can be an asset or a liability. Excess inventory is a shining example of that. Excess inventory costs us more money. It takes up too much space, and in that way becomes a liability. To tip it over into being an asset, and yes, excess inventory can be an asset to you. What excess inventory can do, that's money sitting right there. You want to turn it into dollars by selling through. So even if you have to drop your pricing a little, you can recover some of that money. You can recover some of that space. And again, you can boost restock limits and ranking by increasing sell-through. So you can take this should be one of the favorite reports of marketers, because this essentially says, look at all of the inventory you have to play with. Figure out how to take all of this inventory and boost the rankings. Maybe you have a product that's a slow seller, but you have a ton of inventory. You can use that to boost the rankings by increasing your sell-through by doing a flash sale or something like that. So it's something to keep in mind. One of the things you would do is essentially just pick a number of days of supply. It's usually either 60 or 90 days, depending on your restock limits. Pick the maximum days of FBA units. You can also build a total overstock report, right? FBA overstock report and a total overstock report, and create these reports and send them to your marketers. These 4 reports being sent to your marketers should be extremely valuable if they know what to do with them, right? And they should create their marketing plans using this data. So all of these reports should be accounted for in their marketing plans to help to boost sell-through and boost restock limits. All right, let's move on. So once you've established these plans, right? Once you've established producing these reports, and these reports for any of you guys who are SoStock users, these reports that we just talked about, all of these reports, they're all available. Some of them are currently available. Some of them can simply be built inside of your dashboard. So anyone who's using SoStock, these can be built inside of your dashboards. For those of you who aren't, this could potentially be something that you set up inside of a spreadsheet, perhaps. Let's talk about logistics, because one of the biggest problems that we have, of course, is longer lead times, and actually the laborious task of getting inventory actually to arrive to our warehouse and to our fulfillment centers. So I believe you should have a plan B and you should have a plan C. You should have multiple ways of getting your inventory into the hands of your customers. I actually call it the golden rule. And the golden rule is never let anyone have all your stuff. I learned this in, I believe it was 2015 during Christmas, when I let Amazon have all my stuff. I sent a shipment LTL and it never checked in to Amazon during Christmas. They lost it and then they found it after Christmas, of course. And that was a sure sign to me that what we had done is we basically tied our hands behind our back. We put all our eggs in the FBA basket, and we had no way of fulfilling inventory, no way of sending in additional inventory. It all got stuck, right? And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more, why that actually happens and how you might be able to avoid something like that. But first and foremost, this is a system that you should have set up. What we do now, essentially, is we have our supplier, right? And oftentimes you order a container load of inventory. However, if you ship everything on a container, you're violating the golden rule of never let anyone have all your stuff. So what you should consider doing instead is ordering a container and then some, right? Ordering a little more than a container, having, let's say, a month or two of additional inventory and storing that at your supplier's warehouse. your supplier could potentially store that stuff for free, let's say for up to 3 months or something like that. We have a supplier who stores our inventory at their warehouses for free for a period of time. So you're not paying additional storage fees on that excess inventory. The other deal that could be arranged if you have a good relationship with your supplier is that you only pay that final payment on anything that ships out. So if you say order a container plus 2 months worth of inventory, you pay for that, say 30% down, and then you ship the inventory on the container, and you pay the 70% on that particular portion of the order. And that extra 2 months that are sitting there, you only pay for them once you ship them. Now, the reason that you want to have that excess inventory is that, God forbid, as it's happened with pretty much all of us, I'm sure by this point, the inventory gets stuck and it's sitting right outside the Port of Los Angeles. You now have the extra inventory to send an air shipment. That is important because, you don't want to have to send it, but you have that ability. You don't want to take on the extra cost of air shipping, but you have that as an option, and you only use it if you absolutely need to. So you wait to see what happens on the ocean, and you know what that deadline is to make that call on whether you have to send a shipment by air, but it gives you that flexibility, right? Then you would send it to FBA, you would send some to FBA, some to your 3PL, and make sure you always have a 3PL. Most people these days don't have the luxury of sending everything straight to FBA simply because of their restock limits. So having a 3PL becomes very important. All right, let's look at the other side of this rule. So the local side. So the same way that we have ocean freight and then air freight as a backup, we would do the same thing with our LTL or FTL, right? Less than truckload or full truckload, and our small parcel delivery. Small parcel is more expensive, but it has more of a likelihood of getting checked in faster. And again, we'll talk about exactly why that is. So you would store extra inventory. You'd put most of your stuff on a truck, and you'd keep extra inventory sitting at your 3PL just in case you have to send inventory small parcel delivery. Then, of course, you're going to have an FBM backup, right? Make sure that even if Amazon is your only sales channel, it's not your only distribution channel. You have another way to get inventory to your customers, because you can take on sales even if your inventory isn't checked in. If you turn on FBM, fulfilled by merchant, and you have a way to get inventory into FBM, right, into your fulfillment center. So this system and this flow is a lot more effective than simply crossing your fingers and hoping something is going to arrive. So this is where you have a lot of different backup plans. You have a lot of different ways of getting your inventory into your customers' hands. If you don't have a system like this in place, I would recommend you start putting it in place as soon as possible. All right. Okay, let's talk about the trucking industry. Type in the chat for me if you've ever wondered why it takes so long for inventory to check in. All right, I don't see any comments now, but I'm sure you do. This is one of the biggest questions that we get. Yeah, okay, good. Diane says yes. Why is it that my inventory arrives at Amazon and 30 days later it checks in, right? It says it's delivered, but it's not checking in. What is happening? There's actually an explanation, and it has to do with something called Amazon Freight and the trucking contracts that Amazon has with Amazon Freight and their preferred partners. So this is something that I took a deep dive into in about September of last year, and was pretty shocked with what was happening. So this is how this works. I'm going to stop screen sharing for a second so you're not just looking at a truck. Okay, so this is how it works. So you've got Amazon Freight. Amazon Freight was created specifically to help get inventory into Amazon. Amazon Freight is a system where Amazon bought a ton of trailers. So those big truck trailers, they bought a ton of them. And they basically own these trailers. They work with third-party owner-operators and third-party trucking companies. And they said, you're going to take our trailer, fill it up with stuff for Amazon, and drop it off. You drop these containers off, you're going to pick up an empty one, right? You're just going to drop it off, pick up an empty one, and do it all over again. Sounds like a perfect scenario, sounds like a perfect solution, and it worked really, really well until it stops working well. And that's what happened. And that's why you have inventory that you send in and it doesn't check in for months, right? Or it goes missing or something like that. It's your inventory, more likely than not, is basically sitting in an Amazon warehouse parking lot, because they drop these trailers off and they should be unloaded and then emptied and then sent back, but they're not being unloaded quickly enough. There's been a huge problem with warehouse space. There's been a huge problem with staffing. There's a lot of high turnover. I think between July and October of last year, there were 350,000 workers who started working with Amazon warehousing and quit within the first week. So it's major turnover, major staffing problems. And that has caused these issues where your trailer gets dropped and it sits there for weeks. That's what's happening. And the reason that this is happening is because of the agreement that Amazon has. They basically say to trucking companies, and it's not just the people who are using their trailers, they also have trucking companies through Amazon preferred partners who are forced to do this. Their contract says they have to do this. So anyone who has that kind of a contract, and usually it's not small parcel delivery, right? Small parcel delivery with Amazon partner carrier is usually fine. So if you're using Amazon partner carrier small parcel delivery, you should be fine. But if you're using Amazon partner carrier or Amazon freight for shipping less than truckload or full truckload, you're probably facing this challenge. And this is exactly why. So a couple of ways that you can get around this. There's actually companies that don't have this contractual obligation to drop their stuff. They don't have that relationship. They're probably going to be more expensive, but their net check-in time is going to be shorter. Net check-in time is a term that I coined, which basically means it doesn't matter how soon that you get a delivery appointment, right? Where the truck is getting a delivery appointment, they know that they can arrive at a specific day and get let in. It doesn't matter. The most important thing is, when is my inventory going to be live and available for sale? So even if you've got these companies that it takes a longer time to get a delivery date, they're showing up, they're backing up to the loading dock, they're unloading into the warehouse, and they're driving away with an empty trailer. Those are the companies that you want if you're facing these problems. All right, let's screen share. Okay, so this is all stuff that I have learned from my 3PL. This could change in 3 months because Amazon used to be the best option. They were the cheapest and they were the fastest and they were pretty reliable. That has changed. Well, it could change again. The most important thing to know is that your 3PLs and your freight forwarding reps are your best allies. So you need to actually use them for their knowledge. And that's extremely important. I learned all of this, like I said, from my 3PL provider, the 3PL owner where I worked or where I have my inventory. The normal habit that we usually have as sellers is we often place the order, our shipping order via Amazon and send an email to our 3PL. We need to stop treating these guys like order takers and start actually working with them to get the best intel on how we should be sending our inventory in to Amazon to avoid these long check-in times. So stop defaulting to Amazon partner carrier, right? The cost is going to be higher for non-partner carrier, but like I said, they have better net check-in times. So check with your 3PL, make sure that you're using the best carrier. Don't just default to Amazon partner carrier. If that's what you've been doing and you've been having these problems, look at shifting your game plan. One thing to note is that since the shipment's not going to be part of Amazon's shipping network, you'll want to make sure that your insurance covers any loss, because until it actually gets checked into Amazon, they're not going to reimburse it. So that's something that's important to know. Okay, now Amazon can't track your packages. If you've ever had a package or a shipment that goes missing, if you've ever had a shipment that gets lost, most likely the reason is because it's buried in the yard somewhere. But they're not going to be able to tell you anything. If you've ever had that frustration where you're trying to find out and they basically can tell you nothing, it's because it's sitting in a trailer in a yard, and they can't, they have no X-ray vision. They can't look and see, oh yeah, it's in that trailer. They have no idea. They do, however, log trailer numbers. They track trailer numbers, and so they know what trailer numbers are in their lot. Have your 3PL start logging the trailer numbers. This is something that some 3PLs have started doing, and it has really helped to streamline locating lost inventory. For example, like I said, mostly they're going to be buried in a yard somewhere, but there was an example of a shipment that was supposed to go to Nevada, ended up in California. And so basically California got it. They opened it up and they looked and they said, oh, this is not our stuff. And then they put it back and it sat there. And so because these trailer numbers were logged, the 3PL was able to contact and say, hey, what happened to this trailer? They said, oh, wow, that's in California. It should have been in Nevada. And they were able to authorize a check-in, an override, to check inventory for Nevada into the California warehouse and then distribute it from there. That's something that could have been lost indefinitely because no one was taking responsibility for what to do about it. So logging your trailer numbers is a very good tip if you've been having trouble with missing inventory or you're afraid of that. All right. Now we're going to get into some profitability stuff. I think this is some of the most valuable stuff that you can do this year. Honestly, I think that if you are worried about your margins, and most people should be, this is how to start recovering some of those margins. I started out so stocked with the concept of death by paper cuts, all of those little tiny fees that added up, a couple of cents here, a couple of cents there, adding on a couple of cents to your unit cost, right? The 2 cents per unit, 5 cents per unit, it really starts to add up. So the same concept applies in reverse. Little hinges move big doors. How do we shave off a little here, a little there to recover that profit? Here's an example of something that we personally did with a product, carton weight optimization. And this is something I'm extremely excited about. We actually got a free tool that's going to be coming out probably next month to help you guys with this. I was shocked to find that I went to ship some products and there was a carton weight minimum. It's something I had never heard of. I've been selling since 2014. I'd never heard of a carton weight minimum. The minimum was 12 kilograms. The cartons we were shipping were 7.7 kilograms. So we were going to have to pay as if we had 12 kilograms. We were going to have to pay as if we had 5,000 kilograms when we had 3,200 kilograms. That was a difference of over $6,000 for that shipment. So $6,000 a month. You do that on an annual basis. That was $75,000 a year just in not having properly weighted cartons. If you haven't checked into this and whether the freight forwarders you're using have a carton weight minimum, it's something to look into. This can be an extremely valuable savings, something to consider re-cartoning your inventory. Beyond the weight fees, the savings in weight fees, the savings of $6,000 a month, carton unit optimization also includes, when you have to add more weight, you add more units per carton. So going from 24 units to 40 units per carton, we cut down the total number of cartons from 417 to 250 units to 250 cartons. that was a savings of over $600 a month in carton fees. So the fees where they pull the carton, they put a label on it, and they ship it out. They're charging you. For this particular scenario, $3.60 per carton is what we were paying. I've seen it go all the way up to $4.25. So the carton fees, the less cartons you have, the less fees you're going to have, the less per carton fees. And that took our per unit savings from our per unit fee for cartons from 15 cents per unit to 9 cents per unit. So you're starting to shave off these little bits, right? Carton fees, carton weight fees, it can go on and on. There's a lot of different details that I don't want to bore you with, but this tool that we have coming out is going to help you to recover a lot of that. So if we've got our weight fee savings, we have $6,000 a month, and we have $600 a month in our units per carton savings. The total carton optimization was $6,800 per month, or a total of over $82,000 per year. Extremely, extremely valuable. This is just one product, right? 68 cents per unit saved on recartoning a single product. Imagine doing that across your entire catalog. This is stuff that aggregators are doing. They are repackaging, they are recartoning, they are repalletizing. If we have to spend $10,000 per container, then I want to get as many units in that container as possible. If I have to spend $40 per pallet per month, I want to get as many units on those pallets as possible. It's extremely important. It's something people aren't talking about enough. So here's a couple of tools. Carton calculator. There's a tool that we have to build now, and I'll get into it in a second. But there's a tool ahead of this, and that's repackaging. You want to look at, is it possible to repackage, right, to reduce the size of my product? Then once we have the size reduced, how many units can I actually fit in a carton? This tool that we have coming out, you guys are on our mailing list. You're our mailing list because you signed up for this webinar. These tools that you have, that we have coming out, we built it out as a container or a carton calculator to figure out how many units per carton that we could get. But we realized that that was not good enough. There's, first of all, no carton calculator that exists. But it actually wasn't good enough. What we're building is a tool that looks at your pallets. How can I build my cartons so that they optimize the space on my pallet? How do I have to have the units facing on the pallet that I can build the carton so that I have as many units per carton and as many units per pallet? That's the tool that we're building. It's going to show you the savings difference as well. Really, really excited about it. It's going to make things a heck of a lot easier. There's a lot of computing that went into it, but that's coming very, very soon. In the meantime, there is a free tool called onpallet.com. It'll take your current carton cartons and tell you exactly how to configure them for the best space optimization based on your carton dimensions, right? It's not looking at your unit dimensions like what we're building is. It's looking at your carton dimensions, but that's a free tool. Another free tool is a container calculator. We're going to eventually build one of these. This is a lot more complex. This free tool is on peertopeer.com/loadcalc. And it's a tool that looks at your entire shipment, right? Maybe you have, 400 boxes that are this size. Maybe you have 500 that are that size. It looks at everything and it shows you exactly how to build it so that you can fit as many cartons into a container as possible, as many units into a container as possible, and exactly how to build it so that everything is well organized. All right, so those are some valuable supply chain tools. I think that, if you were to even just hire a VA or hire someone who's really good at math to help you with these things, investing some time early on in the year to really optimize, to try to fit as many units into each carton, pallet, and container as possible, that's going to save you a lot of money, right? Let's give an example of how, if you optimize right now, what's that going to save you annually, right? And what's that going to save you upon your exit, if you do plan on exiting? So first of all, we talked about that carton optimization. That was one scenario, right? Imagine this across your entire catalog. Let's say you save $82,000 in annual profit increase, right, for carton optimization. At a 5x multiple for your exit, that's over $400,000 when you exit, right? Pallet optimization. Let's say the optimization saves you $15,000 in pallet fees. That would be $75,000 upon your exit. Air freight. You got really streamlined and you no longer had to do a lot of expensive air freight. We had someone who was able to shift from air freight to ocean freight and was able to save about, I think it was 75 cents per unit simply by not air freighting anymore, right? And that was 2020, right? It's probably a lot more because the cost has gone up. So that would be $250,000 increased upon exit. Stockouts, let's say you save $40,000 in stockouts, you were able to stay in stock. That's $200,000 upon exit, total of $187,000 in annual savings, or almost $1 million upon your exit. Is that something that you can afford to lose? That's a lot of money. First of all, on an annual basis, what you would be able to do with over $150,000, and then what you'll be able to do with that extra $1 million when you actually exit your business. That's money that is currently being made almost immediately by aggregators. They're looking at these opportunities where it's basically instant equity. They know if they can optimize cartons and pallets and avoid stocking out and avoid expensive air freight, they know that they can make more money with your business. That's money that we want to put into your pocket because you've increased these efficiencies. All right, I know that's a lot. Again, you guys are going to get the replay, and we are working as hard as we can to get these tools out to you to help you out. There's one other tool that we're working on to help you out, and that's related to a recent bombshell. I did mention that I was going to cover a bit about restock limits. I'm not going to talk about restock limits because of this recent announcement that happened last week. I think it'll be more valuable to you. And I have my trainings on restock limits you can find on YouTube and the other webinars that I've done. So if you have questions on restock limits, I think we've kind of beat the drum hard enough on restock limits that most people understand how those work and ways to navigate them. But if you don't, again, check out our YouTube, So Stocked. Just type So Stocked into YouTube and you'll find us. All right, so let's talk about the bombshell, what happened on January 18th. And if you don't know what happened on January 18th, we're going to talk about it. If you don't understand it, we're also going to talk about it. The dimensional weight calculation. FBA fees came about, right? Every year between January and February, new fees are released. We know that it gets more expensive every single year for fulfillment fees, for various different fees. The bombshell announcement was that they released this and they put little tiny, almost like they were hiding it, little tiny note about how they were going to be using dimensional weight in their calculation. And some people maybe don't know what that is. So let's talk about what that is and why it could be devastating for products. We're going to see a lot of people, if they don't pivot and they don't figure this out, a lot of ASINs are going to die out, and even maybe sellers. So this is like extremely, extremely important to understand and to start making moves with your supplier to do something about it. All right, dimensional weight. Let's explain this. So dimensional weight is the amount of space a package takes up in relation to its actual weight. It's created to create a pricing system for carriers to charge you based on the amount of weight and space your product takes up. So why is this important? So dimensional weight is used across the world to estimate shipping prices, both for space and weight factors, right? Previously, Amazon only used your unit weight, right? Now they're looking at both of these things, right? The trucks have essentially, they have both space and weight limitations, right? They can only put so much weight on the truck, and they can only put so many packages in there. So they have to consider both when they're considering how to charge you. A lightweight but bulky product can fill a truck up very, very quickly. And a heavy product can max out the truck's weight limits. So you need to weigh these things both together, and give you. They basically created this calculation to be able to figure that out. So this is how the calculation works. The calculation, you have unit weight times unit width, right? This is in inches. This is specifically in inches. Unit length, unit width, and unit height. And then they have what's called a dim divisor. Dim just stands for, it's short for dimensional weight, right? Dim divisor, 139, right? So you're going to divide that by 139. In centimeters, the dim divisor that's most common is 5,000. So if you're doing it in centimeters, you would do it with 5,000. This is what Amazon has stated on their website. Exactly this formula is what they're using, right? A lot of different carriers use this particular formula as well, FedEx, UPS, etc. All right, so let's go into dimensional weight versus unit weight. Amazon is going to take whatever is bigger, right? If your unit weight is higher, they're going to stick with your unit weight. If your dimensional weight is higher, they're going to use that. Let's look at a scenario. This is an extreme example, but is a real example from something I actually took off of Amazon. 2-pack of pillows. This is a 2-pack queen pillows, and the price is $26.98. The weight, the dimensions are 30 by 20 by 5. The total weight is 4.13 pounds. It's considered small oversized. So when we look at the dimensional weight, it's now over 21 pounds. And Amazon always rounds up. So 4 pounds becomes 5 pounds, 21 pounds becomes 22 pounds. If we were to look at what the calculation would be, the fulfillment fees prior to this update were $9.26. Now in 2022, the increase would make it $9.70. That's only a 44% increase or 4.7% increase in fulfillment fees. However, with this dimensional weight, they're now paying $16.16. That's a $6.09 increase or 74.5% increase in their fulfillment fees. Basically, fulfillment fees account for 60% of their sale price. Add Amazon referral fees, and this product is going to be paying 75% to Amazon before storage fees or other fees that are also associated. That's just fulfillment fees and referral fees. It's huge. This is a huge. Of course, like I said, it's a very extreme example, but a true example. To lighten things up and get a little bit less depressing, let's look at a scenario of how you could actually overcome this, right? And it's all about packaging. Starting to think about your packaging becomes extremely important. So let's look at another pillow product. This is a 4-pack of queen pillows. So selling twice as many pillows for just under $40. Their dimensions are 17 by 11.5 by 8 inches and 10.28 pounds. This barely gets them, this just gets them into large standard. That 8 inches is on the highest point of the small, of the shortest side that is allowed to be large standard, but it was able to get it into that large standard category. So that significantly helps with this, right? Then we have the dimensional weight. So it only goes up by $1, right? 11 or 10.2 round up to 11. 11.2 round up to 12. Fulfillment fees were $8.08. This year they go up to $8.53, which was 45-cent increase or a 5.5% increase. Dimensional weight goes up to 8.83 cents. So only an additional 3 cents on top of what it normally would have been with the increase. It's only a 75% increase, still significant, but it's, considering the last product with $6.90 increase, it's a 9.3% increase. So they're only spending 22% of their cost of their retail price on the fulfillment fees, and a total of 37 with the referral fee costs, right? All right, so that's just showing you an example. I have another friend who sells sunglasses and would sell a case and realized that he didn't really need the case. The case wasn't something that people, really cared about. And so he put it in a protective sleeve instead, reduced the size from this down to this. And so that considerably lowered fulfillment fees. storage fees as well. But it also lowered, he could put more units per carton, he could put more units per pallet, more units per container. Just resizing your product can have a significant impact. It ripples all the way through your entire business. So if you can, like, I would suggest ordering all your own products, sitting down, starting with the tape measure and figuring out and measuring the difference between your packaging and your actual product and seeing if there are ways to rework things. This is where the money is. This is an extremely valuable thing. I was talking about this before. I was talking about this around third quarter of last year. However, this dimensional weight that was announced last week just puts a magnifying glass right up to it. So it's extremely important to start looking at these things. I think that there is going to be huge value in people who actually sit down and do this work. I think that this will start wiping out some of your competitors, these fees. Eventually, we've seen people closing businesses because of it. It's the time to do it, right? You have this opportunity within this next year to completely maximize the money that you're actually making. I think it's one of the game plans that a lot of smart sellers will be adopting. So that's it. That's it for my presentation. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that we have to offer, but focus on the details, focus on flexibility and the details. This is how the sellers that are going to do really, really well this year are really going to start dominating, is they're going to start strengthening that margin in between them and their competitors, right? Or if your competitor has, you know, a 14% margin and you have a 30% margin, that's going to be a huge difference for you guys. All right. As far as SoStock, I know some of you are SoStock users already. I'm going to tell you a little bit about SoStock, and we have a lot of things coming out. Like I mentioned, this tool, we have a ton of things coming out in this new year, but we are a fully customizable Amazon inventory management software built for sellers by sellers. We also have a tool that factors restock limits into your forecast. Extremely important. And we have over 1,000 happy customers. We do free data migration. So if you're using a spreadsheet or another software, we will help to get that data put into SoStock for you as needed. We also do one-on-one onboarding calls. So you'll be talking to our onboarding specialists who will help you to gear the tool to exactly what you need it to do to help to streamline your processes. Here's a couple of the examples of what we have inside of the tool. Customizable forecasting per SKU, including restock limits, different ways of calculating your velocity, right? Your velocity, you can do manual velocity overrides, look at last year's sales data and use that data. We also do sales spikes, stock out calculations like we talked about earlier on in the presentation, adding additional sales growth, our inventory timeline to help you visualize exactly what is happening with your inventory and why you need to reorder and how much you need to reorder. Then we have order and transfer trackers showing you what's in production, what's en route, what's headed to your 3PL and what's going to FBA. We have customizable inventory dashboards. All of those reports that I talked about, the slow seller report, the liquidation report, and all of those reports can be built into your inventory dashboards. And then we have PO and transfer creation. So once you get your forecast, you can simply click a button to create a PO to place an order with your supplier or to place a transfer with your 3PL. We have a ton of reviews. You can check us out on the Amazon App Store. Some of the reviews include people saying forecasting is hands down the most accurate in 7 years. Solved 99% of our forecasting challenges. I'm getting rid of spreadsheets forever. We're making much more money because we're not stocking out. Taking our inventory down from hours to just a few minutes, truly listens to our needs. We love what we do. I'm strangely obsessed with helping people to, avoid stocking out. I love the idea of having people make more money with their business. We have a 30-day trial offer right now. So if you want to try out SoStock, go to sostocked.com and you'll see a floater bar at the footer or the bottom of the website. That floater bar has a 30-day free trial. Go ahead and click that button and sign up for a free trial and go ahead and check us out. I think 2022 is the time to really get the operations side of your business doing extremely well. Start saving more money so you can put it into new products, you can put it into marketing, or just put it into, you know, your vacation fund. All right, reach out if you have any questions. You can reach me personally at sostock.com/connect, and you can also reach out to us on our website. All right, I don't see any questions. I did forget to ask you guys questions. I don't see any questions so far. I know this is like drinking through a fire hose. Someone said, Diane says, I'm having an issue with SPF. I'm not sure what SPF is, maybe SPD. Small parcel delivery. If you want to clarify that, feel free to clarify that. If any of you guys have any questions, do let me know. Thank you guys so much for jumping on and for listening. Amy did say, just wondered how you can estimate ordering stock before you have started. So estimating stock, that's a good question. So you would want to look at what others are doing, right? If others are selling, you know, let's say 1,000 units a month. I mean, that's very low, but if someone's selling 1,000 units a month, right, let's say, you would want to make sure that you have enough inventory to kind of keep up with them, right? You want to make sure that you have, let's say, at least 3 months worth of inventory. So you would look at what is my end goal? And let's say you want your end goal to be 1,000 units a month. You'll need that ramping up period to estimate. That ramping up period, you can say, okay, well, you know, let's start out, I'm probably going to start out selling 10 units a day for a week. Then I'll, you know, ramp that up, you know, another 30% and then continue to ramp up. That's how a lot of people use SoStock actually is they'll set a base of, let's say, 10 units a day, and then they'll ramp up incrementally until they get to their point. So first determine what your, you know, starting sales velocity is going to be, what your ending sales velocity is going to be, how quickly you're going to reach that, and then kind of reverse engineer it and see how many months do I actually need worth of stock before I reorder, let's say 2 months or 3 months, something like that. And that will help you to determine how much you need to get started. All right. Don't see any other questions. Definitely reach out to me if you have any questions. Look for the replay and also keep your eye out in the next month or so for those tools that I mentioned are coming out. All right. Thanks so much, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.